Hello guys, welcome back. Well, today we're going to be doing a video showing the cockpit being built. As I say, it's in a modular system. Normally takes about 15 to 20 minutes to get it together ready for flying. And hopefully this will inspire you if you haven't got room to, dedicate a room to a cockpit. Then you can do similar to what I've done, so that it can be packed away after flying. So anyway, let's get building. The time on my watch is roughly coming up to 25 past. Let's see if we can get it done by 11:45. Okay, first things first. Chair out of the way. As you can see, this room is normally used as an office, which is why I built the modular system in the first place. So the first thing we need to do is get our main panel on. As you can see, it's not heavy, but because of the size it is a little awkward to manoeuvre. This is the hardest part really. And that drawer underneath there supports the main panel, as I might have mentioned before. The screens come up and stand on the casing of the main panel to give it the correct height. That comes up there like that. Next to go on is the overhead panel. Just one USB lead drives this, and it's clipped to the back of the screens to keep it solid. Because of the shape of the unit, it's a little bit top heavy, so I had to design this so that it wouldn't topple over in use. There we go. And the USB lead pops into a hub on the back. And while we're at it, we'll get the USB leads for the main panel sorted out. So we've got one for the Cytec throttle unit, which is this part here. And we've got four for the Leo Bodnar interface boards. Two there. Another two there. So they just pass through a little slot in the back of the main panel unit out to the hub at the back. Them into the hub. That's them done. Next up is our throttle quadrant unit, which, as you can see at the moment, it's waiting to have a post put on the back which helps support the whole thing. That's in the other room, so I'll get that. There's the post I was talking about, and that slot there slots into the keyboard drawer, which holds the whole thing together. So a couple of wing nuts secures that to the back of the throttle unit. And we've got two leads on this, one for the USB and the other one is for the new brake light which I've done since I first built the cockpit, and that is beg your pardon, 3 leads, there's 2 USBs. That white lead has to connect up to the autopilot unit, which is where the actual light is. So the switch for the brake is on the throttle unit, and the light itself is on the autopilot unit. So this links the two together, and it's just a simple 5-volt LED light, which is the brake light, and that's powered by USB off of the Leo Bodnar card. So again, very simple to connect up. Just connect up the 5-volt LED in series with the switch to the card. So pretty simple, really. Okay, so these little leads pass up through a hole in the bottom of the main panel. Then we just slot that unit onto the keyboard drawer, like so. USB leads again out through the back to the hub. Okay, so next up is a couple of USB leads for the instrument screens. Pass them out from the back. The 2 instrument screens are in the next room, so I'll grab those. Here's the instrument screen, and they're off of eBay, a company called Guard, and I found these really good. They're touch sensitive screens, not much more than 100 UK pounds, and they work really well for the instruments of the glass cockpit. So they need the USB and an HDMI lead each. HDMIs. Obviously they also need a power lead, which is a 12 volt Okay, now pop the screens on. That lifts off and that locks the screen into position once it's all plugged in. Just sits in the slot at the bottom there, and then, as I say, locks into position with that little bar I've made. And the second screen for the PFD. You can see it's gradually coming together. The last unit to go on is the MCP autopilot unit. There's the light, which plugs into our lead from down below. All the leads look a bit messy in the main unit, but I could have tidied them up, but I've left it all loose because if ever got a problem with the switch or anything like that, it's much easier to trace the wiring, remove the wiring if they're all loose, rather than have to undo a load of cable ties. I've had one or two switches fail on me, so I purposely left all that loose in the back there. And last two USB leads on there. On there. Underneath is stored the Cytec rudder pedals, so they slide out there, and all that's left to do now is top it off with these, which is to represent the roof of the cockpit, but also it stops any distraction from any background. So, there we have it built. Let's power up. Power on. PC on. What are we doing for time? Just gone 25 to, so we're well on target for to meet our 20-minute build. The setup of the screens is all done by the standard NVIDIA software that comes with the card. So the annoying thing about these screens is the on-off button is at the bottom, and occasionally it just catches and constantly trying to switch itself off again. There we are. Right, fire up FSX. Now, as FSX is firing up, it'll also fire up automatically a little module called Linda, which is if you know FSX and you know flight sim, you'll have heard of a program called FSUIPC, which is basically a bit of software that opened up the innards of FSX to people that wanted to customise it and such. Well, Linda is basically the same program, only in my mind it's a lot more intuitive to use. So Linda just sits in front of FSUIPC and drives that, and it enabled me to allocate all these switches to the various commands within FSX for the aircraft. That's Linda there. That can be minimised, that'll just sit in the background. Right, well, just go for a fly now. I don't know where we are, I think we're down in Italy at the moment. But you'll see it all fired up, and I'll show you how I get the instrument screens down on these bottom screens ready for flight. There's a little brake light I was talking about. It should be orange. It's actually got an orange cover on it, but it doesn't glow very orange, unfortunately. I should have gone for an orange LED, might have made it better. But you can see if I operate this switch at the bottom, releasing the parking brake, that light goes out. FSX is just firing up. As I've said before, the whole system is driven from one PC. I didn't want to go down, you can go down the route of using more than one PC to drive it all. Makes it easier for driving extra screens and things like that, but I didn't want to go down that route. I'm limited for space, and I've found once it was all set up okay, this PC, which is running at it's an i5 processor, Intel i5 processor, running at about 3.8 gigahertz. Again, not the fastest, but I find it's quite adequate to run this setup. So there's the main screen. We'll stretch that up to full size. That's that. Now, to get these instruments down in here, we open up new views. So we go to the view menu, go to instrument panel and PFD. We undock that window and roughly size it for the screen down below. And then just stretch it to the correct size. There must be a way of doing this so I don't have to do this every time and you know, have the things fire up with the correct size, but I haven't figured that one out. But it's not too much of a problem. So there's the PFD in place. Another view for the MFD window. Undock that. And again, squeeze it down roughly to the dimensions of the screen below. Drop that down there. Oh, almost got it spot on first go. That'll do. And we're there. We're ready to go. Turn on the batteries. And the screens fire up. Wait for them to initialise.
Terrain system test OK.
HTOS test OK.
There's the MFD, and there's a little button down there, which is why I needed the touch screens. I've incorporated these soft buttons within the touch screen rather than having external buttons. The reason for that is these soft buttons do a multitude of things and they would be quite difficult to program. So I decided in my infinite wisdom to have the buttons within the screen. Works perfectly fine. And there we go, all ready to take a flight. Slide the pilot seat into position, and there we are. And the time on my watch says, oh look at that, 2 minutes to spare. Not bad at all. So you can see, doesn't take too long to set up. Packs away nicely in the cupboard with all the separate modules, and I can happily fly away now, and my partner's not moaning at me for taking up the whole room all the time. So I hope it inspires you to, if you haven't got the room in your own home, I hope it inspires you to have a go, perhaps building something similar, maybe not on this particular aircraft. This aircraft, as you know, is the Embraer Phenom 300. And because I chose that aircraft, it made it a little more difficult to program everything to work in FSX. If you chose a stock FSX aircraft, it would be much easier to allocate all the buttons and switches because they're already in FSX. I had to do a little bit of programming in Linda to get the switches all working correctly. And if you need any advice on that sort of thing, give me a buzz and I'll see if I can help you out. But there we are. So we'll leave it there. My next video will be a full flight video, and I hope you can join me then.